Previously on MLVP's The Toy Shelf. Hello everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of The Toy Shelf. I'm your host Mitch Live, and I collect action figures. Today's episode features a little toy line from McFarlane Toys based on AMC's hit TV series The Walking Dead. And it's important to note the difference because McFarlane Toys also has a toy line based on the Walking Dead graphic novel series, but the ones I collect are strictly from the television series. The Walking Dead was a television sensation that took the world by storm with a mere 6-episode debut for its first season. It follows Sheriff Rick Grimes, who wakes up in a hospital after being treated for a bullet wound to find that everybody is gone or dead or missing, and he goes off in search of his wife Lori and his son Carl.
Lori! Carl!
Carl! Carl! Carl. So Rick here was my very first piece, and this is Season 3 Rick when they're in the prison. And of course, these greedy bastards make a Rick from every f***ing season. Damn you, alternate versions! In fact, this toy line has a double or a re-release of almost every single character that they make. And that wouldn't be so bad, except they make so many characters from the series. Not only do they make most of the main characters, but they also make a bunch of zombies too. And then they also make dead versions of some of the characters that die in the series. So, spoiler alert for the first 6 or 7 seasons of the show, The Walking Dead. Anyways, let's look at some more figures, starting with the original Atlanta crew. Starting with Shane Walsh. Shane was Rick's partner on the police force before shit hit the fan, and he's the one who steps up to protect Lori and Carl when Rick is presumed dead. They also make this exact same Shane, except he isn't wearing the police hat. And of course, we've got everyone's favorite character in the series, Carl Grimes. Carl! And he's wearing Rick's very iconic sheriff's hat. Carl's kind of like the Wesley Crusher of The Walking Dead. Next, we've got Glenn. So Glenn here is basically the whole reason that Rick lives and is able to survive Atlanta and meet up with his wife and kid. We like Glenn. And he was definitely one of the harder figures for me to find. But of course, it always happens that as soon as I acquire a really hard to find figure, I end up finding that figure again. So I grabbed myself a double, and you can see here that I paid only $7.50 from Retro Rocket Comics. Retro Rocket Comics is located in Cambridge, Ontario. Hit them up to find good deals on awesome toys, like Glenn from The Walking Dead. So next, we've got the actual fan favorite, Daryl Dixon. Wah! We'll talk more about Daryl later, but you can't have Daryl without Big Brother Merle. Merle's a dick. We don't like Merle. Next, we've got Andrea here. I like this character. I like how her character develops throughout the series. And we've got Dale. Ooh. He's like the grandfather of the group. He's like the father of them all, the big family. He keeps them all together. And next, tragically, we've got Leaky Entrails Dale. So this is one of those figures, like I said, they make dead versions of the characters. And one thing I really like about this toy line is that they are just ruthlessly accurate to the series. Just take Dale, for example. Next, we got T-Dog. T-Dog. T-Dog is the first token black guy of the group. And finally, one of my favorites from the original Atlanta crew, motherfucking Body Count Carol. That's right, around here we call her Body Count Carol. She goes from battered housewife to, please don't make me have to kill every single one of you. And it's badass. And this is the original Atlanta crew. And next we're gonna meet the Greene family. This is Hershel Greene. Hershel Greene here is a God-fearing man who lives on a farm with his family, including his 2 daughters, Beth and Maggie. Hershel ends up losing a leg in the show, and when you purchase this character, he either comes with this sort of nub here, or his prosthetic leg that he ends up getting later. It's pretty nice detail. Pretty good. And of course, Hershel's the one who keeps all his zombified loved ones in a barn. And then eventually they end up burning his farm to the ground and they all have to leave. During the farm burning incident, our friend Andrea here gets separated from the group. She meets up with Michonne. Michonne is a badass samurai sword-swinging survivor who keeps 2 zombies chained on a leash after she's removed their arms and jaw. This, of course, makes them not able to hurt her and helps her blend in when she walks through crowds of zombies. Pretty badass. And these two travel together, separate from the group for a little while, and that is when they meet up with this douchebag, the Governor. The Governor is the first real villain in the Walking Dead series, and he's probably also the most hated person in the series. He keeps his zombified daughter Penny locked up in a closet. He's got problems. McFarlane also actually makes a Penny figure, but she is Penny from the comics. They don't actually make a live action one. Meanwhile, our group takes shelter in an abandoned prison, and that's when they meet Sasha and her brother. This guy. Tyrone, maybe? I don't remember his name. Big pussy. This was also around the time in the series where Rick started to get phone calls from his now deceased wife. Season 3 Rick here even actually comes with the telephone, so you can play imaginary phone calls with dead Lori at home. And so a little bit later in the series, our friend Dick Merle, he tries to go kill the Governor himself, and he doesn't do a good job. And he ends up dying, and instead of just killing him, the Governor, being the sick bastard that he is, he lets Merle turn zombified so that he can then let him loose on Daryl and force Daryl to have to kill his own zombified brother. Some real deep stuff. Next we've got Bob. Say hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Bob has pretty high spirits. Even when he gets bit and he knows he's gonna die. Even when he gets kidnapped by cannibals and they amputate his leg and eat it right in front of him. Completely unaware of the fact that they were actually eating tainted meat!
Tainted meat!
Next we've got crazy-ass stick-wielding Morgan. Morgan is actually the first person that Rick meets after waking up in the hospital. He wasn't quite ready to leave his home yet, so he stays behind when Rick goes off in search of Lori and Carl! And then they eventually meet up again later. It's a whole thing. And next we've got Gareth. Gareth is the leader of a town called Terminus, where the cannibals live, where they eat people. Tainted meat!
Tainted meat!
Terminus was a town that they built up for an entire season just to have it wiped out in a couple of episodes. Very anticlimactic. So I believe that's around the time that Glenn gets separated from Maggie and the rest of the group, and while he's searching for her, he ends up meeting Abraham here and his buddy Eugene. So Eugene here is a coward who convinces everybody that he has the cure for the zombie apocalypse so that our friend Abraham and a couple other people will protect him. And eventually, they all end up together, and they break out of Terminus. And then they're being stalked by this guy. So this is Aaron. Aaron is from a town called Alexandria, and his job is to scout out and recruit people who would be good to bring back to the town of Alexandria so they can grow, find good people who can contribute to their new society. And he is the one who discovers Rick and his group and invites them to live in Alexandria. And that's also about the time where we get introduced to another group. A group who call themselves the Saviors, who are led by a clever yet ruthless bat-swinging psychopath named Negan. And this is where the plot gets a little more complicated, and it's also where they basically stop making figures. The only new character they've made after Negan here was Jesus.
Jesus Christ, superstar.
Not that Jesus. But to get Jesus, you needed to buy him in a 3-pack with 2 other figures, which I already had. One of those figures was Daryl, and I already have 2 Daryls. The reason I have 2 Daryls is the first one I got, this guy is called Grave Digger Daryl, and he came with a shovel. And this Daryl came with the iconic motorcycle accessory. This was a must-have, so I got 2. I got 2 Daryls. I broke down. I wanted that bike. And the motorcycle, of course, is just another example of the wonderful accessories. And speaking of accessories, they make a lot of them. Some of them are a little more iconic than others. Some really iconic accessories we've got here, I'd say, are Dale's chair, hat, and gun here. You see that, you just think of Dale. He's always sitting on his lawn chair on top of his RV. We've got this, for example, is a long-range listening device that Aaron uses to kind of to listen in and spy on the guys from a distance. Yeah, we got Hershel's little prosthetic leg once he stops walking around on the crutches. we've got, of course, I mentioned the telephone where dead Lori calls Rick. It's a great time. Here we've got some rations that they find somewhere while they're scavenging. Of course, there's Daryl's crossbow here, which is probably one of the most iconic accessories from the series, matched only by, I would say, Rick's sheriff hat, and of course, Lucille. Here's another super cool one. So this is the old fish tank, I want to say, where the governor, for some reason, keeps decapitated zombie heads. I feel like it came with some zombie heads. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure I've got some zombie heads here we can pop in anyway. These are Michonne's pet zombies. And speaking of those, Michonne's pet zombies even come with removable arms and jaw. The figure Bob comes with the pair of machetes that he's holding, and he comes with his sawed-off, amputated, and cooked leg. The tainted meat. He comes with the tainted meat! Tainted meat!
Tainted meat!
And he comes with a nub so that you can remove his leg and have his little nub leg. And then you could play Gareth Eats the Tainted Meat. People. So I mentioned earlier, there are thousands and thousands of zombies in the show, but the zombies that the McFarlane toy line makes are from very specific episodes or scenes. I don't remember 100% all of them, but most of them are pretty memorable. So the first zombie I ever got was what they call Screwdriver Zombie. Now Screwdriver Zombie has a slit throat and his head tilts back a little bit. And the screwdriver is removable and bloody for that eye socket stabbing action. So you can really recreate, that stabbing that zombie in the eye with a screwdriver scene. Next we've got Mudwalker. Mudwalker is the zombie who is just laying in the mud. That's why he's covered in mud. That's why he's called Mudwalker. He just comes and pops up from the ground. It's very dramatic. This next one is a fun one. He's called Bungee Zombie. This zombie, I don't really remember the specifics of where he falls from or who's involved, but he gets hung up by his entrails and he just kind of dangles like that. Yeah, that happens in the show, and they make this very accurate recreation so that you can play hang a zombie by his entrails at home. I find this guy looks a little bit like Leatherface. Is that just me? Next we've got Water Walker. I forget specifically where he's from, but he's obviously very waterlogged and his skin is just, ugh. Really good looking character though. The accuracy of this particular zombie it's on point. So next I've got what might be one of the most fucked up toys that I've ever owned.
Warning, the following description may be disturbing for some viewers.
So this is Autopsy Zombie. So in the series, Carol's daughter goes missing, and Rick and Daryl valiantly go out and search for her. And they come across this zombie who's clearly just fed. And they need to know whether this zombie just fed on Carol's daughter or not. So what they do is they lay this zombie down, they cut open its inside, they reach in, they go through the contents of the stomach to find just the corpse and bones of what appears to be a small animal, and they determine that it's not in fact Carol's daughter. So when you purchase yourself Autopsy Zombie, it comes equipped with bloody knife and removable chest cavity, so that you can play Let's Check for Carol's Digesting Daughter at home. Not only does it come with the removable chest plate, but you can even reach inside and pull out your very own small animal bones. Yep, that's too small to be a little girl. Let's keep looking for Carol's daughter. Next we've got Flu Walker Zombie. Flu, Walker, Zombie, Undead, Biter. These names sound a little redundant. Flu Walker Zombie. Next we've got Charred Zombie. Charred Zombie is pretty self-explanatory. He's a zombie that gets lit on fire. One of my favorite things about this figure is that he's a little translucent, so that when you put a light source right behind him, he sort of gives the appearance that he's burning alive. Next we've got Riot Gear Zombie. So I'm pretty sure they make 2 different Riot Gear zombies, but I've got the cooler of the 2. And the reason I say that is because he is from a scene, the first episode of the 3rd season, I'm pretty sure, when they're clearing out the prison that they're going to be living in. They come across a bunch of zombies in Riot Gear, and this is one of the last ones, just as he's taking him out, and he tries to take off his mask so that he can really stab him in the head. Well, his decaying face sort of sticks to the mask, and it comes off with the mask. And I don't know if you could see, really, but the rest of that zombie's face, it's whoop. Oh, yeah. I actually didn't know that visor popped off, but the visor popped off, and you can clearly see the rest of that zombie's face right there. And then when you move the mask, you peel his face off. The detail in these little accessories is really what makes this figure line for me. Way to go, McFarlane Toys. My next zombie is called Zombie Biter. And again, this is one of those names that sounds redundant because Biter is also a name that some of the groups refer to zombies as. That there's an undead biter walking zombie undead. That there's an undead zombie walker biter. But specifically the reason that he is called Biter is because he apparently comes with biting action. I've never opened this figure, so I don't actually know how good that biting action is. I'll take their word for it. Next we've got Zombie Walker. Again, Walker is just another name for zombie, but again, they call him Zombie Walker because he comes with walking action. This guy is from Series 1. You can tell it says so on the back. They show the Series 1 Rick Grimes that you can get, which is probably the hardest to find Rick Grimes in his sheriff uniform. And you can even see Zombie Biter on the back there, as well as a shorter-haired Daryl. And you're probably thinking that I'm about to bust this package open, but I'm not. And the reason that I haven't opened these zombies specifically is only because I got them around the same time where I got these neck zombies. And these neck zombies I will probably always keep in their box. So next we've got Well Zombie. Now, Well Zombie is from a very memorable scene in Season 2 when they're on the green farm and one of the wells is clogged. They're not getting the water from it or something to that effect. They go and investigate and find that there's a big fat zombie stuck in the well. So their solution is to drop a rope down, lasso the zombie, and then they all hoist him up. But he's extra fat and probably a little waterlogged. And he's so heavy that he splits apart. Right where he's tied at the waist, he splits in two, and all of his guts fall in and contaminate the water. And this guy comes with split apart body, and he's got guts inside that come out. Maybe in a later episode, I'll crack him open, and we'll open up and we can see the guts inside. But for now, he's gonna just live in his box. Along with my favorite zombie, Bicycle Girl Zombie. So this is actually the first zombie that Rick encounters after leaving the hospital. He borrows her bike because, let's face it, she doesn't need it. Bicycle Girl Zombie is the hardest zombie to come across. It's one of the first ones that they make, I believe. Although this, I think Series 2 is a re-release because I've seen Bicycle Girl Zombie in several different types of packaging. You can get one that comes in a more narrow package like the classic packaging you'd expect from the Walking Dead figures. Just hold on 1 minute. Since we're talking about zombies and all the different names that they use to call the zombies in the show, isn't it kind of strange that they never once call them zombies? That you never hear anybody in the whole world call one of these things a zombie. And then yet, on pretty much every single box, they're called zombies. So those are all the pieces from my Walking Dead collection. I would almost give it the collection complete stamp if I could only find Jesus! Please, Lord. Help this child find Jesus. And as I mentioned earlier, there are many, many, many alternate versions of these characters that I just don't care for. And I say overall, they've done a pretty good job of making most of the really important figures. And the likeness is pretty spot on for most of the figures. Of course, once in a while you get one that doesn't look as good as the others, but they're all pretty decent. And due to the death rate of characters in the show, they're always adding new characters, and the show is still running, so maybe we'll see some more figures yet from this line. McFarlane Toys also makes some other Walking Dead toy lines, including like I think a 7-inch series. This is the 5-inch series. And this is definitely one of my favorite collections, mostly because of the detail in the accessories. And this definitely used to be one of my favorite shows. Not so much anymore. And that brings us to the end of another episode. If you enjoyed this video, check out some of our other content, tell a friend, hit that big ol' red subscribe button. Thank you very much for hanging out with us on The Toy Shelf. And remember, you're never too old to play with toys. Oh my god, his foot just came off.